All right, should we call a meeting to order at
6:03.
Yes. So did everybody get a chance to quickly look at the meeting minutes that we got today?
Yes. I motion to accept meeting minutes from December 14th, 2023 as is.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Friends update?
Oh, let's see, back in December, we had several successful holiday extravaganzas classes, including a wreath making class and a very well attended family holiday craft event on a Saturday. So we had many children, many volunteers, and lots of happy people.
Yeah, that was great. You ended up with a lot of volunteers at the end.
Yeah, we
right?
did, we
Good.
did.
Let's
So
get a count. How many?
I want to say 24 to 25 kids in total participated. I don't remember the number of families, and several families also expressed interest in friends and their activities, whether helping out or, coming to meetings. So we're gonna
Nice.
see if that materializes, but it was, overall, very, very good turnout. Our next meeting is the 30th of January, Tuesday. And so we have not seen each other since December, so I'm sure we'll have a lot to catch up on and spring planning to do at that point.
Oh my God. Really?
Okay. Yep.
Anything moving forward, coming up in January or?
I believe there is a watercolor class. I think there might be, something else in terms of the T classes coming up, but I don't think dates have been firmed up. I think there's, tentative agreements, but still fleshing out details on those kinds of things. So we're just gonna give it a little rest for January and then pick that up in February, and then the book sale always looms.
Oh, yeah.
That comes up real quick in the late spring, so.
Okay, all right, so we're moving right into the director's report. Moving right along, Andrew.
Okay, I know. So let's see, director's report. Let's try to go through this quickly. Staff, we had our holiday get together, which went very well. Our next staff meeting is on Tuesday, February 6th at 7 p.m. We're also looking at maybe doing a B&M shopping trip, which we've done before with staff, because this is kind of fun. And we have a discount there, that sort of thing. So we'll see if we can put that together for, maybe March or April. Facilities. I won't go too much into the historical commission meeting because we're going to be talking about that anyway. Suffice to say, there's a process in place. It's boarded up, which is great, so that nobody can actually access said building, which was a big concern of ours. But we'll talk more about that in just a bit. The mailbox is up and operational,
Nice.
and I'm receiving mail there.
Nice, so we canceled the PO box.
About to do that.
Okay,
We actually had, I think, 2 months left on the box. So, I mean, every so often I just double check it. But I said to her, I did receive the form the other day. I have to fill that out. I've done that. Everything should transfer over. So yeah, so far so good. I haven't received a quote yet from Superior Roofing on the rectory roof. I did contact her today. And she said, I guarantee by the end of the day, you'll have a quote. I don't have a quote. But hopefully
But they've already
tomorrow.
come out and looked at it?
Oh, yeah, I've taken a look. They wanted to do take like an overhead. I don't know if it was an overhead shot or if they were trying to get an overhead view of it. I don't know how they were planning on doing that. But she seemed to think that that wasn't absolutely necessary and they should be able to get us a quote relatively soon. I talked to David, the current town administrator. He said, if it's 5,000 or less, don't worry, the town will be obviously be taking care of it. Let him know if the quote turns out to be more than 5,000. When he came out to do the assessment, his opinion was our opinion that it's a flashing issue.
Okay.
It's pretty much that. Outside of that, he didn't think there was anything else tremendously unusual,
Okay.
about what he was seeing, so. J&J Electric, oh yeah, an issue. So I didn't bring the bulb down. It's this little cam light, for lighting upstairs, which was installed back in 2016. One of the lights went, it's an LED, which is strange that it should have gone at this point. Now that it's gone, I had J&J Electric come out to take a look, and I had purchased a lamp light, and it turns out it's a yellow light as opposed to a white light. Not unusual. When they went back and they checked, they don't make the white light anymore. So all 14, 15 fixtures that have a white light, one of them would be a yellow light. He tried it in there and showed it to me, and I'm like, that. And unfortunately, I think the rest of the lights upstairs are sort of a white, like you see here, a white cast as opposed to a yellow cast. And we could change them over to a yellow cast, or we could just not bother at all and leave the space as it is. He said that, he looked around to see if he could find any spare stray one. They discontinued it a couple of years ago, that particular. So, I don't know if anybody has any strong opinions on that, or.
How much of an impact is it just to leave that one out?
I don't think it's a huge deal. I'll take a look again tonight, because I was not here the other day at nighttime, so I'll take a look at it. I didn't think it was a huge issue. It's just a spot where you would think a light would be, and it's not particularly noticeable or anything. If we did, we'll go ahead and change out all the lights. It would be on order of like $1,725.
Or like a less noticeable spot where you could swap out the bulb.
Well, that's the thing, is it's all in a housing, so you can't just swap out the bulb. I wish you could, because that would really solve the problem. But it's all part and parcel of this unit. There's a light unit that it just make it anymore. But no, and that's what I was thinking too, but they said there's not a way to do that, so.
Did you look on like eBay?
Right, not a bad idea.
No, I don't know that. Maybe we should take a look at some unconventional.
If
So
it bothers you.
I do have a friend who used to work for Lightolier. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I could potentially talk to him and see if he would have any idea as to what would happen with old fixtures and if they keep anything like that anymore. I mean, I'm just talking to one, electrician, and maybe their resources aren't really vast as far as knowing where to find something. So I'll look at it tonight and see what it looks like. I really don't want to change out the lights particularly. I mean, I guess we could, but then we'd have to go with like an entirely different light fixture there, I think, in order to get the same light quality. The yellow, like I said, I don't think looks right at all, based on what we have currently. Anyway, if anybody has any ideas?
Yeah, we check eBay. That's not a bad idea. It's a really good idea.
Because that's a lot to spend on lights.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And of course, that doesn't include the labor for them to put up the lights.
Right.
So we can double that number.
Yeah.
The electrics is a take to screen the lights.
Right.
All.
Yeah.
And of course, they're not, just like right here, they're way, way up there because it's so bulky. I will.
So you mean you're not getting up on a ladder?
Well,
No,
no, there are ladders. We do have ladders, but none that are big enough for that. Yeah. He actually brought a sizable ladder in, was doing the work, and I'm like,
Yeah.
It was way out there. So I'll see what I can do, see if I can find anything. If anybody has any other ideas, shoot me. Budget. It's about 45% of the budget spent after half a year, so we're running a little bit behind. Salaries and operations spend through are pretty much the same at this point, with about 45%. We need to ramp up the book spending, or should I say material spending. There are some things we want to look into as far as Lightweight does some devices that are probably a little more expensive. I think that you may look into some e-books and e-resources to spend money on, because with a finite space, not a bad idea to look into something like that. We can actually contribute to Overdrive. We can actually purchase Overdrive materials and have those be first for our patrons, as opposed to, I mean, it goes into the general sort of quantity of books for all, materials for all libraries. Everybody will have a chance to use them. It's just that we get the first crack at them once we've purchased them. So it's something to look into. I mean, like I said, we're winding up having to be quite a bit every year at this point. And so there's a lot of turnover that way. But in any event, e-resources, that sort of thing, kind of look into as well.
And we have a very high checkout volume for that. You
Yeah.
can see how many people check those out, right?
Like
And then-
e-resources?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
and that stuff
absolutely. Our
counts.
checkouts are pretty, yeah,
They're
and
pretty
those all
high.
count towards the total circulation. Whether it's e-resources or it's physical books. Audiobooks, so on. So we have some options so that we can look into. Our lights bill for December was 1,400, so that's going up. And I expect for the next 3-4 months, it will probably be over 1,000. But that's also why we asked for additional in that line this past year and received it, so that's good. Keeping an eye on programming, I think we're gonna have some flexibility there though, because there are other lines that we can tap into, potentially contracted services. What's the other one I was thinking of? Telephone, which doesn't really get used, supplies line, I think we can use some of those lines if we get a little lower on programming funding. I submitted the FY25 budget proposal. It includes an increase of 32.8 to the salaries line. That is like last year, or it's close to last year, because the initial budget scenario called for an additional 9 hours for staff and an additional 11 hours for the children's position. Outside of that, there weren't particularly a lot of increases otherwise. So an increase of programming to 1,100 to 25,000, and the books line by 1,000 to 69,100, and that's just so that we maintain the 19%. The total budget spent on circulating materials. Let's see, programs continue to do well. All the story times, A Big in particular, the public story time always has a large group. The Santa Christmas events were very well attended, both the one online and then the one, the story time the next day, at 56 in attendance. Let's see. She does have 2 events up, or 2 recurring activities coming up in January, or starting in January. She's got a play group, a Pete Palooza play group that's Beat the Cat with Getting Bridges on Thursday, starting on January 18th, and a morning play group on Monday, starting Monday, January 22nd, with Beginning Bridges. I won't go through the rest of those. You can take a look on your time. Projects. Let's see. Adults A through F of the fiction is complete. We have one more row to go because we actually, some work was done on the back end of fiction and in nonfiction. Then we should be able to kind of spread things out a little bit and generate a little more space in the collection. So that is going well. You probably see a bunch of boxes, et cetera here. Most of that was from Chuck Noel, a friend of his who had a large book collection. He passed away a couple of years ago. And her husband really did not want the collection anymore, and Chuck was quite a few things. He's a good guy, and I thought, let's go ahead. If they need to have a place for them, I want to go through what's here. See if there's anything you want for the collection. We found a few things so far, and then the rest will go over to the garage. And yeah, and the garages, I mean, we're starting to not fill up, but I mean, there's definitely weeded books over there. Not a lot in terms of donated stuff outside of what we have from Chuck so far. So it will be interesting.
Are you going to be hosting drop-off days or,
Oh.
you know, for that, for the books down?
Name but
Okay, sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
next meeting, I will let you know. Trying to get through weeks and.
Yes, I'm
Move
sorry.
on.
I'm brain working there.
Yeah, no, I would anticipate, yeah, that we will be.
Yeah, I honestly, however they want to do it, I think it's fine. If it's a continual thing or if it's just specific days, you'll work with whatever you decide. Still working on setting up a date to meet with or have a call with Katie Cunningham at BBT about the website. I actually did reach out to her this week. I sent some times to her for a call this next week, but I did not hear back, so. Ping her again at some point here. Find out what works. I do have a couple days next week I mentioned for a call. Aspen, yes, Aspen catalog, which is coming in March. New catalog interface for patrons. It doesn't look tremendously different from what is currently there. The nice thing about it, you can customize it, and so we had a session yesterday and a session next week, Wednesday, with customization options, just talking about what those are. Actually, I've seen our mock-up, which includes our logo already and our color scheme. So the other things that can be done, which are basically lists and creating browsing categories and that sort of thing, are all things that we can poke around and do. But the basics of the catalog are already there. So this is just sort of an extra tinkering if you want to tinker with it. Create special lists for holidays, for example. Create lists for the children's department on a particular topic or whatever. And you can actually then display those on the cover beneath the catalog search bar. There's more options than what Evergreen provided. Everything was kind of done on their end. This is basically taking the administrative piece and giving it to us. So, I mean, it's interesting. We'll see how much tinkering we do on it. I mean, like I said, all the basics are there already. Let's see. I don't have a lot of information on what is happening as far as the survey of property lines with the town building inspector and town council. Not particularly happy about that because I literally sent them information, or at least we got the ball rolling on this 2 months ago. Now, I'm assuming he thinks that there's nothing that is objectionable about what he's done over there. And so that's my concern because, and I feel like I knew that going in, like, it's one thing for me to be able to go over and tell him that we're not happy about it, but unless whoever you speak with is on top of it right away and then also expresses the concern. So I don't know, I don't believe he's been spoken to about it at all. I don't know that there's a cease and desist or anything like that. I did reach out to David again, and David said he was going to reach out to the building inspector and town council because they were supposedly surveying over there. I haven't heard back, so I don't know what's up with that right now.
I haven't heard anything more. I mean, I did talk to Mike Morrell a little bit, but I don't have any like concrete.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the last select board's meeting, they seemed to think it was all gonna be happening, but that was a
Yeah,
while
I
ago
think
too.
there are a
so-
lot of, it seems like there are a lot of moving parts. I think right
Yeah.
now the focus is on the carriage house, you
Right.
know, like,
Right.
so I think, yeah, I guess my hope is that like, once that is squared away,
Yeah.
then the other issue can be addressed
Yeah.
more
Okay.
directly, because it does seem like the issues, there are multiple issues, and they, to
Right.
some extent, sort of like crowded each other.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
totally
that
get
makes
that
sense,
because we had three different things,
Right.
obviously, that we were talking about.
So,
Carriage house.
Right,
Behind the
right.
carriage house,
Right.
shouldn't have been behind the carriage house, and then the turnaround that was
Right.
created, so. I totally get that, that was a number of things to throw at them. But
yeah, I've asked David and Mike to keep me in the loop, just so they know that, in case that, there's anything that happens, so,
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
So-
'Cause
but yeah, if I learn any more.
Looking for
Thank you,
answers.
too.
Let's see, asset inventory forms, have been submitted, on all of the items we mentioned, all the assets we mentioned. And then when I spoke to Dave, he said that's the way to go, just make sure, yep, exactly, so just make sure all of those things are in there, including the heater, elevator, et cetera. So those, and I tried to estimate as best I could as to what value is or what replacement value would be. And, it was interesting. Interesting process. The rectory working group will meet next week. Thursday, 6 PM downstairs in the library. I think the last time we met was when we did the walkthrough. So I think this time we'll probably be talking about grants, fundraising, and then we'll obviously talk about the roof. Hopefully I'll have a quote by then. That would be nice for what the repair is on that. And we can-
Yeah, I think we're also talking about what the needs are, what we want.
Right.
for
Right.
That space and what the survey said and some of those kinds of
Yeah.
things.
Maybe when you get in touch with the roofing company again, let them know you have a meeting on Thursday that you
Yeah.
need to present the pricing at, and maybe that'll,
Well, I did tell her, I said I have a trustees meeting this evening. She's like, oh, I'll try to get you this evening.
yeah,
But I could always.
yeah. So that
Always
can help.
reach back.
Recurring theme here.
I know.
But I agree with you, like, if I haven't received something tomorrow, I will just I'll give another phone call and ask if they're anywhere near having that ready for us. Let's see, I'll be attending the legislative breakfast next Friday, that's in Hopedale. All library personnel, including trustees and friends, are encouraged to attend if they choose. Our state rep and senator will be there. It's something that happens typically every January or February. They have the legislative breakfast, a kind of a state of the union, or state of the region on what's going on with libraries in the area and so forth, and issues that are foremost in the minds of directors and libraries and administrations. Initial state aid award was, well, we were certified. That's the first thing. That's great.
Nice.
And then received our initial state aid award of $73,8194. I think it was, what is it? I think it was late December. I was going to check with the town treasurer just to make sure that the amount has come through. Sometimes there's a little lag between when it's announced and when it's received. A second similar amount should come through in the spring, probably April. And then I can talk a little bit about the budget. I did want to mention, it's not in here in the budget report, but state aid for salaries, just so everyone knows at this point, is we're covering the cost of the 11 additional hours for the children's position. Through 6 months, $6,283.20 has been spent on that position, the children's position from state aid. 92.69% of the state aid still remains. Of course, that doesn't include the 7,000, whatever I said, 7,381 that's will be added shortly. Other budget issues. I did mention that some of the lines will probably be used for covering things like programming. Contracted services, telephone, lights, we'll see how much, is used through the course of the winter. But there's still 14,000 remaining in that line. About 6,800 left in the programming line, which is what we might eventually pull from some other lines. Does anybody have any questions, actually, first about the director's report, and second about the budget report? Apologies for tripping over my tongue with talking about the
Yeah.
e-resources and that sort of thing, but that's kind of a direction we might be going in this year. That's what I've done.
All right, moving on to the garage update.
Yeah.
So it's been secured, which is nice.
Yeah, in fact, it was secured the same day as we went to the meeting, so we
Right.
didn't even have to discuss when that was gonna happen. John Dudley, Highway Department took care of that, which was great. Couldn't believe it. I looked over the.
Right,
Wow,
well,
that's-
especially with that recurring theme, somebody said they would do it.
And then suddenly it was all boarded up. I was like, this is great. So, I mean, that solved one issue, obviously, for us. And then obviously the second issue is talking about where we go from here and what the process is, and trying to just reiterating to the building commission, we just want to follow the process that they felt would be best with this building. So I don't know if you wanted to.
No, yeah, and that's, I mean, so we went to the historical commission meeting following week, was last week?
Yeah, last week,
Last
Thursday.
week. And they brought up the fact that that particular garage was here prior to the rectory and the library being built here, the church being built here, from I think 1910.
1910s, yeah.
1910, it matched a building that was here that burned down, and that building housed some play.
Yeah, so there were actually, it was a family of vaudeville performers.
Yes, thank you,
Yeah.
yeah,
The ushers.
that used to perform at the Nipmuc,
Yeah, like Nipmuc.
Lake Nipmuc.
Yeah.
And,
That was-
We had a whole
that was
history
their- I know,
lesson.
right, yeah, we
crazy.
got a whole history lesson,
There was,
but,
that was
they-
their summer home.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
their summer home.
Yeah.
And they felt that
350 years.
it was worth doing at least following the historic process, and at least holding a
Hearing.
public meeting or a public hearing in order to just talk through before it was demoed, so, before we went down that path, so. I think that's scheduled for the 25th.
Yeah, public hearing.
Public hearing is scheduled for the 25th.
Yeah, Dan said something
At
out.
6 or 7?
I
I
think it's
forget.
at
6?
it's at 7
It's at 7, okay.
on the 25th.
He sent out meeting invites to all of us, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. He had
Um,
mentioned the second meeting, I talked to him the other day, and the second meeting was for something completely different, so I thought he was talking about like a follow-up, but there's not a follow-up.
all my emails.
And
He
he-
definitely sent out a meeting invite.
Yeah.
I'm assuming those interested in the building at that time are
Could go and,
to be there to discuss their interest.
I don't know what happens, it wasn't clear what happens after
Yeah.
that, or
I-
how long the process goes after that, but I'm kind of looking at it as it's out of our hands at this point. They're
Yeah.
gonna do the public hearing, and then it goes back to the town on what they're doing from there.
Yeah.
And from our perspective, and we told this to Historic Commission as well, our perspective was we wanted it to be secure and safe so that no one could get hurt in there.
Right.
And that, you know, at least they were working through.
Yeah. whatever
And that it
happens
was
in-
town property and that we, after, once it was secure, which was our concern, then it was up to the town, really. It's not, they kept saying, well, what are you gonna do with it? What are you gonna do with it? Well, we said, well, it's not ours to make any decisions on. So that's when Dan said that he felt strongly that it should at least have a hearing from a historical point of view, and we said that, fine, if that's the process, let's go through the process, we don't have a problem with that.
I think it's a good idea, just because to go through that process and have the hearing, because you never know, like.
They'll never
in the
question
future,
after.
Right,
what-
exactly.
Right.
And if there ends
done.
up being a similar case in the future, you don't want to set a precedent that like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like if you can avoid it, and I think especially now that it's
Right,
physically secure, so that.
right.
Mhm.
Because they were like, well, when is it being torn down? We're like, well, we don't know. We're guessing not, like, that's not not that it's not a priority. They want to, you know, take care of it, but boarding it up was the priority so that nobody could get inside and get hurt. So I'm sure they weren't going to spend the money on boarding it up if they were just going to come with the demolish it the next morning. You know what I mean? Because they were all like, are they demolishing it tomorrow? Like, I don't think so. They just put the boards up today. You know, so they were as confused, and then Kathy seemed to think that thought it would be a good idea to get inside and just see,
What it
and we're
looks
like, but it's boarded up,
Yeah,
so,
are there photos? I mean.
Yeah.
if
they're-
so-
Yeah.
But
I
then they
mean,
were
I took some
concerned,
photos when we did that walk.
yeah, then they were concerned about potential asbestos tiling in there.
Yeah, no damage.
Yeah.
So,
The other issue is that it's close to the wellhead. And,
right,
you know, if anybody wanted that building, okay, it's not like you're gonna keep it on the property.
You
It's
have
gonna
to
get
move it.
carted and moved, and
it's too,
Yeah.
yeah,
See
you
what
can't,
happens
you
when
can't
it
even
is-
carve that piece out. with how
yes,
close it is to the
apparently
wall.
there has been an abutter that has expressed interest in the building to the town. And I think that has something to do with the hearing as well, why Dan, you know, thought it was important to have a hearing, and so
I'm not sure, yeah, I mean, and I
apparently
don't
he
know what
went through
costs
the
are
town.
associated with, because if it is deemed historical, there are things any individual possessing that building would need to do in order to ensure that the historical integrity is maintained
Right,
of the building. So
but
I
that's
think there's a
the
cost.
only place, the only thing that we would get involved in, I think, is if the abutter is granted the building, or however you want to say it, whether he buys it or he's given it or whatever, if he's going to move it onto his own property, then that's one thing, go for it. It's all your expense, you do what you have to do. But if the person is thinking that it's gonna stay where it is and then the property line changes or something, I think that's one reason why we would get involved, because it's still where our library sits and part
Yeah,
of
I
our
think the
property
concern would be the well
and the well.
and the easement and
Yeah.
access to that building. You know, now does that mean there's gonna be an easement on the property, and
Right.
what kind of, you know, does that impede our traffic, or?
We don't even know if it's gonna go there. We just know that he has expressed interest directly to the town.
And we're following the right process.
Right.
Public hearing,
Right.
let it be brought out, figured out from there.
All right.
And I know, I saw on the select board agenda that they asked a question about where things are at in the process. Do you know offhand, do they want, it's not quite, it's an agenda item on there.
For next week?
Yeah, for this next
Oh,
week. Do you know if, are they expecting somebody from the historical commission to be there? Are they
I'm
expecting?
not sure, I think it's, a lot of this has just not been, discussed in the select board meeting, so like there have been like emails with updates, so I think it's.
Okay. And do you know that if we need to, if anybody needs to be there from here, or is
I
it?
don't know specifically, I could ask
Yeah.
Baker, or,
You
you
know,
know, we could, I could ask, you could
Yeah.
ask, but yeah.
And I could go via Zoom if
Yeah, I mean,
you
that's what I
needed me
think.
to, but I couldn't go in
Let me
person.
look at my packet and see if it has
What call it, when's that meeting? Is it
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
So, yeah.
6:30.
Yeah, I preferred,
I mean, if I were to, I would be
Yeah,
remote.
I would be.
I prefer not to go only because I've skipped the gym 2 Wednesdays in a row.
No, you go, I mean, Andrew and
But I
I
gotta
can
go to
go
my
via
gym.
Zoom, worst
Yeah.
case scenario.
I'm gonna go to my Wednesday night class.
I know it's later in the agenda, so.
Well, yeah, and then potentially I could log on after
But
too.
no, I just, was just thinking in terms of like when to tune in.
Right.
But,
I mean, although sometimes things get
take
They
it out
shuffle
of order, so.
I mean, you can just be running in the background, so
Yeah.
that's what I did last time. All right, should we move on while you're looking? We can talk, the rectory, their next agenda item, the rectory group update. There really isn't any updates. We haven't met since then, other than we're meeting next week.
All right,
We're gonna discuss kind of the plans or what the vision should be for over there. Does the 3 plans that we originally had, do they still meet the needs, or does any of them meet the needs, or do we need to rethink them altogether? It's kind of what the.
right, looking at the
It's for the
previous
meetings.
set of plans.
Right.
that were put together.
Right. So that's really all there is for that. The strategic plan, I don't
I
know.
mean, we've kind of been going over them
Right.
before, like the policy, and, yeah, I just think it's probably best to pick through that one this next time. That's all right.
Yeah, totally fine.
And then, obviously, things like the website, doing some outreach to the schools, we're doing some of that. Trying to think what else is good coming up. Still need to find a window washer. But that's just maintenance types of stuff. I mean, it's interesting, some of the stuff that winds up on that strategic plan, but that was one of them, for whatever reason. I was looking at it today, I'm like, oh, window washer, yeah, that's right. Somebody was supposed to get back to me about that, and they didn't, so. You'll notice the theme, which is I reach out, and they don't give it.
And you hear crickets.
Yeah, yeah, it happens more often than I would think. But just have to keep reaching out to them. Escaping will. I mean, fortunately, some of the things have happened and, you know, are progressing. Get a quote for that. Yes, yeah, and I mean, you know, they did look at the rectory roof, the mailboxes are, so there are
Yeah,
certain things that are happening.
It's happening.
Yeah. But in any event, those are the sorts of things, we do have to put together like an organizational chart yet, I don't know, you sent me that information, I'll take a look at that.
Yeah.
Once I've got, the annual report done, and so I'll be, you know, some other stuff. That's what I know about the strategic plan, and I'll look a little bit more into, see if there's some other things.
And there are things you're plugging away with. We've already talked about the community outreach, with the Inspired Learning Day at
Yes.
school,
Yeah.
you know, so there are things that are happening that
Right.
check those boxes and
Yeah.
are going as well.
Yeah.
That just kind of happen,
Right.
which is nice too.
Yeah.
So. The one thing that's not on the agenda, but is something we always talk about is the policies, and I know you sent us this one
Yes.
policy for the internet, the
Yeah.
library internet usage
Yeah.
policy.
So this one was actually done,
Is it?
and approved
Okay.
back in,
I checked it
That's
off.
all right.
Everything, I checked it off. It's done.
approved back in 2014, so I mean, it's been a while since it's been looked at. But I didn't know if anybody had a chance to look at it before the meeting, and if anybody had some thoughts or suggestions.
You want a copy of it?
offhand?
Yeah.
I know that when it was put together, seeing as I was the one that put it together, that it pulled from, there's a great resource actually on the Massachusetts Library System site that has existing policies from other libraries, and so you can kind of see what they've done, and you can kind of pull the best ideas. But like I said, it's been some time, it's literally almost 10 years since this has been taken, been reviewed.
I guess the one question, especially if the library is going to purchase e-readers, when we talk about access or control of access, should there be something in here about the set
Devices?
requirements or devices as well? Like, it would be set to be used for only these things.
True.
Granted, that could conflict with if we have, I'm not sure if we have a device policy. already in place or some like access to devices or whatnot, but this, we might be able to cover that type of thing
In here.
just in here.
Right. That's a good idea. I know that one of the things that was stressed at the time is because we had worked with CW members to have Wi-Fi access. What happens when individuals bring in their own laptops and so forth. to work
Yeah,
with.
that's, so if you're saying, it's like for something like committing fraud, you probably want to say committing fraud, utilizing any resources of the library. So like if they're connected to Wi-Fi and you're saying, well, committing fraud with one computer,
Mhm.
yeah, but you're still communicating with the resources of the library.
Good point.
Yeah, that actually just makes it easier for legal action.
Yes, exactly,
Mhm.
because that's not specific enough for
Yep.
legal action.
Right. So utilizing any resources of the library.
Yeah, committing fraud, utilizing any resources.
So, there was no new information in my packet, so just for the select board meeting, I think it's really just to review that there is gonna be the hearing, so just following up. But I will check with David just to make sure, to see if he thinks that one of you should
Oh,
be
okay.
there, but I have a feeling it's gonna be a short item, just to follow up on it, since it did come to our board.
I mean, at this point, it would just, there's
Yeah, so
probably just be saying,
there's
this is
the,
what,
right, that say
commission
there's the
has.
public hearing and talk about the process, because our board hasn't voted on it, so like, I don't know if, I'll see, they haven't sent the motions yet, so I don't know whether they're expecting there to be votes on that, but I can update you.
Do they have to vote whether or not there even is a public hearing?
So I don't think so. I mean, so it's, yeah, a lot of times it depends on like how, I don't think it'll be the select board's decision to
Okay.
do that, but I don't know. I'll find
Yeah,
out. And this is
I
like,
just-
sometimes it's like about the details of the bylaws and
Yeah.
state laws and like, I don't know, like
Yeah.
it's gone to, right to town council about this particular issue. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, hopefully since.
Which one, son?
Yeah, it's all right.
I'm sorry.
It's all right, good.
So anyhow, I'll update you, I'll ask David and see if there's anything, but my guess is it's gonna be a quick sort of recap, catching
Where
the
things
board up about the things that have been going on with
Okay.
other meetings.
Thank you. All right, are we now at the topics not anticipated within 48 hours? Are there any of those?
Can I make a quick plug, so, because I've been involved with the senior center expansion project. So I know that like the library wants to have more space at some point, but the plans for the senior center, at this point, I don't know, the property that we're looking at is the one corner of North and 16th,
Right.
so close by. And the hope is to have community space. So I don't know if there are uses that the library could have. I mean, I know the hope is to have more space here at some point, but that could be quite a few years out. So something to consider is that community space that committee is hoping to have might be of use to the library as well
People
for
take
events.
advantage of.
Exactly, that's sort of one of the ways that they're hoping to sell this to the town. So something to consider, and if any of you want to get more involved with that, because I do think it would be a good, good space for the town. They're talking about having a larger like meeting room, so like for having more classes, because the current senior center space is very small, and you've been there recently, but
Yeah.
they have to, just like here, they have to restrict the number of people who can attend things.
Yeah.
But they're hoping to like have bigger spaces, so anyhow, it might be something to consider whether there might be any like use for that could be addressed? I mean, in like the master plan, I haven't read the whole master plan, but I don't know, like potentially there could be events for the library there in the near future than having, you know, more space here. So there's also talk of using CPA funds to have a walking trail behind there. I don't know, I haven't seen sort of where specifically, but it'd be great if it could like go all the way like here, so it could be a walking trail. Like there,
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I heard like that the hope was to have it go all the way to Hopedale Street, so like that would be, but I don't know, again, I'm not in on that directly, but like that could be great for the library as well. to have That walking trail. So anyhow, that's in the works, and if any of you want to know more about this, you know, I'm happy to fill you in, and, you know, there are those meetings as well, and, yeah, I do feel like there's like room for synergy also with the senior center and the library. You know. I know you often like talk with Amy, but there's a lot of overlap with like the types of programs offered, just maybe different populations, but, anyhow, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
When do they usually meet?
The expansion committee is typically meeting like the night before the select board meeting, so like usually the Tuesday before the Wednesday meeting, but like next Tuesday as well. And I'm just thinking like in terms of like diplomacy, like it also might be good like for future library projects to, you know, feel like there's like community support from the library, so that, you know, goes both ways. So food for thought.
No, it makes sense. I mean, we certainly have done things with them in the past, you know.
Yeah.
When we were at the other building, we were constantly
Right.
having events at their building, so.
Yeah.
You know, we certainly have had a relationship with them in the past, so.
And it will, and I, you know, I'm the liaison to the Council on Aging, and they're very much focused on outreach, and I know, you know, this group is also focused on outreach, but it's, you know, I feel like, you know, we are one community, and so, like, anyhow, I don't feel like there should be like competing outreach, I mean, and I don't think it's meant that way, but I know, like,
Right.
there might be a few people who think of it that way, like, you know, like, so, but I don't see it that way. And I do think that the libraries can benefit from those spaces if it gets built, and that's, you know, a big if.
Are they looking for ideas in terms of what those, like the community space or the meeting room will look like, or what it should incorporate, or?
So they've already worked with the architect based on sort of their plans, but the idea is that the spaces would be available for other community groups, because the senior center now is like, just like this space is open for meeting. They're a little bit bigger than this space for
Yes.
meetings.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, that there's going to be, like, the hope is that there will be a large room that can seat like over 100, whereas like the current senior center can only seat like 40 to 50.
Have they
And
talked about like what kind of technology they want in that room, or what the sorts of things that would be
So-
useful?
Believe so, like, I have not been in on those meetings, but, I mean, I know that yeah, I've seen some of the sort of schematics. I know like they're planning to have like, those, like, the roof dividers,
Sure,
the big
yeah.
space, so that
Yeah.
like it can be used like
Right.
for
Multiple.
functional,
Sure.
there's talk like for the downstairs space to be more like, I don't know, it's interesting, and you might be, just as residents of Mendon, works in Mendon, you might be interested in seeing what the plans are. But that's coming
Do they
along.
meet after, or do they meet every week
So,
before?
Yeah, so it's been every 2 weeks, and it's
Okay.
kind of ramping up, because the hope is to go to town meeting in May.
Okay.
So anyhow, that's coming up. But,
Is it the kind of thing that person can just show up for, or?
because they're open meetings, so it's just like, it's like big ones.
Okay, yeah.
Putting in a-
Got
yeah. You know, at some point, you want me to put in a plug for for these meetings, I'm happy to do that also.
Oh, we're leaving, we're.
Oh, yeah, this is-
Yeah, this meeting's almost over.
Oh, this is a trustees meeting.
Oh.
We're gonna be starting in about 10 minutes.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Let's try to get together. All right, next meeting. So if we were to look at the calendar, we usually meet on the second Tuesday, that would be February 8th.
Second Tuesday or Thursday?
Thursday, sorry. That's kind of weak. Oh my goodness, my brain is shut down.
I get that way too, like I get tired and I'm like, what am I doing?
I think that's my problem. I'm tired today.
I
Yeah,
am
February
here February 8th, I'm leaving February 9th, yes.
So we can do 6 PM if that works for everybody that day.
8th,
I didn't finish it yet. I still have like 20 pages.
Looks good here.
All right. So we have a motion to adjourn.
Before we do, just
Yes,
one
sorry.
thing, we'll look at this policy again for next month as well.
yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and honestly, if you have, in the meantime, any suggestions, anything I should incorporate, just shoot me an email.
Okay.
But I myself will look again and see, what some samples are right now. What the recent meeting,
Okay.
if there's anything I find that should be. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, I'll see some of you next week. This work.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
Motion to adjourn?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. I'll stop recording.
Done.
All right.
Thank you.
Sorry. So what I'm, when we're planning to go to that hearing on the 20th,